The pickup truck in the US market is completely broken. I'm going to use a pickup truck from each of the major brands, Ram, Ford, and Chevy, to explain my point, and I'm going to give my advice at the end of the video as to what the big three should do to fix the pickup truck market. Now, before we go over these three big, beautiful pickup trucks, let's get into some stats. For these income numbers I'm about to go over, I'm going to be using the median instead of the average. The reason I'm using the median is it is actually a lot more accurate to what people actually make here in the US. The average is skewed upwards because we have a very small group of people that make a ton of money that pull things upwards. We all know this, right? This is like half of the politics in the US currently. The median income for an individual that's working full-time in the US is about $59,000, so less than $60,000 per year. Now, if you count in part-time workers as well, so part-time with full-time, the median is $48,000 per year. Now, the median household in the US earns about $80,000 per year. Now, not all households have dual income, but all of us know that most households nowadays have dual income. In fact, I just looked it up, over 53%, so more than half of US households are dual income. So that means that one individual is probably earning about $50,000, maybe $60,000 a year, and the other one's earning probably about $20,000 to $30,000 a year. From my personal experience of selling cars for years, that is exactly what I saw. And I do want to actually emphasize my personal experience. I don't usually do this all that often, but I sold cars for several years and I saw the finances of thousands of people. And what I saw is that the average numbers for income were not at all accurate in terms of reality. Like I said, the median numbers are a lot more accurate. Almost every single person that came in and bought a car made anywhere from about $30,000 to $60,000 per year. Some people made a little bit more, some people made a little bit less. Now, this was prior to COVID, so these numbers are obviously a little bit out of date, but they're not too far off from the statistics that we have now post-inflationary period. So how does this relate to pickup trucks? Well, the average pickup truck in the US is over $60,000. Now, wages haven't changed all that much over the last few years. There has been some growth, but pickup trucks have massively outpaced wages when it comes to the pricing. Prior to the pandemic, the average pickup truck was closer to about $40,000. Now, it would have depended on the features that you had with the truck, whether it was full size or mid-size, but again, it was roughly around $40,000, $45,000 back then. So no, you're not crazy. Truckflation is in fact a real thing. And I mean, these three trucks are even more expensive than $60,000. That Ram there, $78,000. That Chevy, $75,000, and that Ford, also $75,000. Now, all of these trucks have discounts because the truck makers are currently doing discounts on trucks, but even after the discounts, they're still over $60,000. And I do think it's time for these truck makers to wake up because they are down by hundreds of thousands of units per year in truck sales compared to before the pandemic. So let's take a look at each of these trucks and talk about why they've gotten so expensive and what I think they should remove. First off is powertrain complexity. This Ford's a great example. It is a hybrid twin-turbo V6. Trucks used to have simplistic V8s, but now they've got these very complex turbo powertrains and sometimes even with hybrids. The next thing is luxury gimmicks. So this truck has an automatic tailgate, so you press a button to lower down the tailgate. And if that wasn't enough, the Chevy in this bunch has an automatic raising tailgate, and that Ram does as well. But there's even more gimmicks. The Ram has a screen above the glove box, and both the Ram and the Ford have giant glass roofs. And if that wasn't enough, add in self-driving, a system that literally backs up the trailer for you, another system that can park the truck for you, and a 360 camera system. Okay, well actually the 360 camera system is very useful in a big pickup truck. But you pair that with the giant digital infotainment system, gauge cluster, there's even a heads-up display. I mean, the Ford literally has a function where the shifter folds down, for goodness sake. And yeah, this whole table situation is useful, and that's why the shifter folds down, but man, is that over-engineering. So I think you guys get the point that I'm trying to make here. These modern pickup trucks have so many features. Some of them are actually useful, but a lot of them I would say are more on the gimmick side of things, where it's a cool feature, but it's like, are you ever going to use it? And so, you know, on the window sticker, you might only think that you're paying $14.95 for that big fancy sunroof. But the reality is these features are a lot more expensive, and the manufacturers subsidize the price of these features by raising the price of the vehicle across the board. And on top of that, the reason why you're also having to pay for it is they have to put it into every single vehicle. A lot of the times vehicles are pre-wired for these features. It's just if you don't have it on the window sticker, it's not currently active. But if you happen to, you know, maybe pay an extra fee or this or that, you can activate it because it was already put into your vehicle. So these gimmicks not only make these fully loaded trucks more expensive, they also make the baseline trucks more expensive. Back before the pandemic, for example, when I was selling trucks, I remember that you could get a baseline truck for close to $30,000. Now you can't really touch a baseline truck for less than $50,000, somewhere in the $40,000 range after discounts, but not that many. What is a reasonable fix for this truck price situation without just telling the manufacturer to add more discounts, because that might not be reasonable because of how much money they have to spend to build these vehicles because of everything they've added to them, and also wages, right? The wages of the people to build the vehicles. So I'm going to split these fixes into two different categories. One category is something that the automakers themselves can do, and the other category is something that we, the people, could push for. When it comes to a fix that the automakers can implement, it is simplifying their trucks. What they need to do is survey their customers over the last 10 to 20 years that they've had and find out what they actually want. Because I think what they're going to find is that a lot of these features they're adding, like the passenger screen or the trailer backup assistant, are features that maybe a very small percentage of buyers want, but most of the buyers probably don't care about that feature, and it's just making the vehicle needlessly more expensive and pushing people away from buying the vehicles. So that's the first thing, is look into simplifying the vehicles so that you can get rid of the gimmicks that people don't actually care about and don't actually want to pay for. The next thing they need to do is consider offering value-oriented packages. They used to offer this on pickup trucks back in the day, where you could basically just get the features that you wanted and not get the features that you don't want. In the modern truck world, it's like, okay, if you want some of the loaded up features, you got to get all of them, right? Or if you don't want them, then you just don't get anything, right? It's like you get basic truck or a fully loaded truck. There needs to be more of an in-between. I think a truck that a lot of people would absolutely love is a truck that has leather seats, that are heated and cooled, has a 360 camera system, bed liner, right? Bed liner is a huge thing. Like, truck makers keep skimping out on bed liner. I mean, again, two of these trucks don't have bed liner. And that's it, right? No gigantic infotainment system, no digital gauge cluster, no heads-up display, no panoramic sunroof, trailer backup, just a nice, luxurious interior with a few amenities, like dual zone climate's another one, and that's it, right? There's a lot of people that are looking for stuff like that, but that doesn't exist. It's like, oh, you want the truck with heated and cooled seats? Well, it's also gonna come with this self-driving system, it's gonna come with a trailer backup system, it's gonna come with a giant sunroof, right? And some of these options, like the sunroof with the truck makers, are a la carte. But again, in most cases, they bundle everything up in these big packages, and so it's like, oh, if you wanna go and get those features, you got to spend an extra $10,000 instead of spending an extra $2,000, for example. Now, when it comes to a fix that we, the people, could help implement, is by voting for emissions changes when it comes to larger vehicles like these pickup trucks. Now, HD vehicles already are in their own emissions category, but light-duty pickup trucks are in the light duty category, and so they are massively restricted. And this is why we've seen a downsizing of powertrains with these 1500 series trucks and an increase in the complexity of the powertrains that these trucks have. I have been reviewing vehicles for years, trucks for years, and what I've discovered is big vehicles need big engines. These small engines just massively underperform. No matter how much power, how many hybrid systems you add to it, they always just end up underperforming. The technology is just not there yet with these turbo engines and with the hybrid powertrains. What you see in the real world is if you take a turbo engine or even a turbo hybrid powertrain like what that Power Boost has, and you compare it to just a good old-fashioned naturally aspirated V8, the V8 oftentimes gets as good a fuel economy and sometimes even better, performs better, and ends up being a lot more reliable because it's just a more simplistic powertrain. And so I think it's definitely something that we should consider. I think that downsizing the engines on smaller cars makes a lot of sense because I've reviewed a bunch of small cars with hybrid powertrains. They get great fuel economy, the performance makes sense, like it actually works. But once you go up to a larger SUV or a pickup truck, it just falls apart. Big vehicles need big engines, small vehicles ought to have small engines. I think that just makes logical sense. And that will conclude my pickup truck manifesto, I guess is what we will call it. And my hope is that the big three see this as constructive criticism in terms of how they can make their product better for the people that actually buy it. Because if they continue down this road of making their pickup trucks more complex with these smaller engines, more hybrid systems, etc., etc., again, they can have it. It just can't be the only option. If they continue to do this, they're going to continue to see the sales dwindle to the point where I think we could see pickup trucks being no longer profitable in the US market. Again, they are pricing themselves out of the market for the average pickup truck buyer, so they've just got to make major changes. That's my 2 cents. Let me know what you guys think they could do to make pickup trucks better.